All right, it says we're live. Let me just verify on the YouTubies.
We are live.
Yeah, we're
Wow,
live.
okay.
Yeah, this is happening right now.
He saw
Oh
it
my
faster
God.
than I did. All right.
Somebody call somebody.
So, all right, give me 1 second here. Just want to make sure I'm not going to double any audio, just like that. All right, cool. So that is blocked. All right, so cool. Everything looks good. Hey everyone, welcome back to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird, and I am lucky enough to be joined. Well, you know what? I should do that a little bit differently now that Davey is an official member. So, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And I'm Davey Deathray.
And we are joined by a number of amazing guests here to discuss the unbelievably controversial, apparently, Superman film by James Gunn. We all four of the five of us did a stream after the first trailer came out. Davey is nice enough to fill in last minute for Tony from Hack the Movies, who decided he wanted to do a stream at the very same time. And not only that, but I just found out he tried to poach Adam, you son of a bitch. But that's okay. What? No, I mean, Tony deserves to have Lord knows he's got the viewers for it over there right now. So good on him. But we're here to discuss Superman, and I couldn't be more excited to discuss it, especially with these gentlemen. I know Chris is a massive fan of Superman, of course, and I think he got a little bit less time than everyone else to speak last time, so I'm going to make sure Chris has some time to chat this time around. But yeah, so I am very excited to discuss this with you guys, and I think the best way to kind of start everything off is just, by the way, for everyone watching, we're going to keep this non-spoiler. We all have plans to do spoiler stuff of some sort that will be coming out later this weekend, so we will be avoiding spoilers for this discussion, especially considering it's Thursday, which is the first time most people get to actually go see the movie. A lot of people are probably in the movie right now. But yeah, so let's get into it with, I think the best way to do is to start with our kind of overall thoughts on the film. So Adam, why don't you go ahead and jump in first?
I thought it was very fun, very colorful, very lively, moved very quickly. Ultimately, I was hoping for more from it, but I guess the takeaway is it was a nice family start-out movie for the DCU, and it kind of reminded me of watching like Despicable Me or the Super Mario Brothers movie, where it's kind of disposable popcorn fun, but unfortunately it didn't have a lot of meat on the bone to become something great that I was really hoping it would be, especially from James Gunn. I think this is probably, sad to say, his worst movie, but even his worst movie though is still very, very pleasant.
Are you saying worst superhero movie or worst Gunn movie, period?
I mean, I think I'd rather watch Slither. I like it more than Super, I suppose, but that's kind of more of an indie little.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it is good. This just didn't. I had really high hopes for this film, and I thought he kind of missed the mark as far as the narrative and the emotional aspects of it. But overall, it was a very fun time.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. I'm going to save Davey because he's the one that literally just walked out of the theater and in front of his camera. Chris, I watched your review, but let's go ahead and jump in with you, sir. What were your overall thoughts on this one?
Well, I pretty much echo everything Adam said.
And if I can also say, no, I'm joking.
All right, well, cool. So, hang on, wait.
Yeah. I pretty much echo everything.
I got to get better at doing that seamlessly like Adam does. All right.
It was. I think it was a very decent start to the DCU. It was fun. It was colorful. It was leaning into the cosmic, batshit insane elements of what a comic book film should be if you're trying to replicate the panels of comic books, especially Superman, the cosmic wackiness of it all. With what Adam's saying, there wasn't enough meat on the bone. I feel like there was a lot of meat on the bone, but they didn't know what to do with it at certain points. There wasn't a flow sometimes with certain scenes. And, with the litmus test, like I said in my review, I had my mum, and my mum leaned over and was like, who the fuck's the dude with the bowl cut? And I'm like, oh, okay, that's Guy Garner. That's a lantern. These guys are the Justice Gang. So they're obviously, I feel like James Gunn was trying to pack 10 pounds of flour into a 5-pound bag. and maybe possibly rushing the intro of all these characters. Like it could have, done with a part 1 and a part 2, but that's a whole nother thing in itself. But I had a lot of fun with it. I felt like it was a breath of fresh air. I really liked Corin Sweat as Superman. And I'll touch on it more throughout the stream, I really liked his endearing, earnest approach to Superman, where he almost had like a childlike innocence as the Man of Steel. Certain scenes, especially him with Mara and Pa Kent, I thought were great. I would have loved to have seen more of them, because there were certain scenes that just started and characters are just there and you're like, ooh, shit, you're here. Okay, cool. Like there's no real massaging of introducing the characters, if that makes sense. Some characters, not all of them. I thought Holt did a great job as Lex. He was a proper piece of shit with some of his actions in the film, his choices. So I thought he was a worthy Lex Luthor. But flaws aside, I think it's a decent start to the DCU.
Cool. Just real quick before I move on to the next person, I want to speak to your metaphor at the beginning. A lot of meat on the bone. I think the perhaps the more accurate way to say it is a lot of meat on a lot of different bones. And by the end of the movie, you only got to have a little bit from each sort of thing.
Yeah, perfect. That's the way to put it, man.
So anyway, Lee, why don't you go ahead and jump in? I'm very curious for your thought. I haven't had a chance to watch your review yet, so I'm curious for your thoughts on it. Although I surmise that you liked it like I did.
I did. I liked it. The thing about this movie is, like, as I was watching it, it was like just constant surprise. Even though, the trailers, I think the trailers kept a lot close to the vest as far as like the tone of the movie. Yeah, it looked like it was going to be fun, but it looked like more of a traditional Superman movie. So when I'm sitting in the theater and watching it, everything that was happening, it felt like the pages of a comic book were leaping out. And if I remember correctly on the last stream, I think I was the only one that was a Zack Snyder fan. I could be wrong.
Some of us were okay with it, but yeah, you were the one that were
okay. Yeah, I didn't think everybody hated it, but I'm like the goo goo gaga guy. And matter of fact, last night I watched Man of Steel. I watched it fresh last night, and I like literally right before this stream, I just finished Batman v Superman Ultimate Cut. I wanted to see how I felt watching James Gunn's and then going straight into these two and watching them back to back. And let me say, it's okay. You can enjoy both of them. And I would even say this. Let's say that I'm the biggest Zack Snyder fan of his 2 movies or 3 movies. Let's say I'm the number 1 fan. I wouldn't want the same flavor for the next Superman movie. I actually welcome the change, the more lighthearted and comedic, like highly comedic, because the Zack Snyder movies are not funny at all. They are completely serious. Let's take Superman and put him in the darkest atmosphere possible and see what happens. And I think the only thing similar to those movies is that this is going to be divisive. It's already divisive. And I even said that in my review. I could tell if you're not like a diehard comic book fan, you're going to be lost. If you're not as a James Gunn fan, you're going to be pissed. And if you're a traditional Superman fan and you don't want your Superman having risks taken on him, you're going to be pissed.
You mean if you don't want him to be Batman?
Yeah. So why did you say that name? No. But if you're open-minded like I am, I'm a self-professed open-minded movie lover. I will go into any movie with a blank slate and with no expectations. And give me whatever you got and surprise me. And I went into this movie and I absolutely adored it. By the end of the movie, there was a smile on my face from ear to ear, and I was like, thank God for that, because as much as I love the last ones, I didn't want that again. I didn't want super dark Superman. I wanted fun Superman, but I didn't want it to copy the Donner movies. I wanted it to be I kind of wanted it to be a James Gunn movie because I love James Gunn. What can James Gunn do with a Superman movie? Is it overstuffed? Absolutely. This movie needed another 30 minutes at least for the character development. But what we did get for the characters, I absolutely loved. I think we got the best Lois Lane. I think we got the best Lex Luthor that I've ever seen. David Cornsweet is a revelation. I never expected anybody to beat Christopher Reeve and Henry Cavill. Even people that don't like the Henry Cavill movies, most of them say he's still a good Superman. I didn't think anybody could top that. David Cornsweet, I love him. I love that he didn't try that and he tried something different. And let's have a Superman that actually barks back and actually, gets quippy with certain conversations. And I don't know, man. Yeah, this movie has faults, but I can't get out of my head. And I'm going to see it again on Sunday. So, are you guys going to see it again?
I had actually planned to see it today at 2 ahead of this stream, but there was some stuff I needed to handle at home, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
But I'll let everyone else answer. Well, everyone else, yeah. We're Davey, are you planning to see it again now? Obviously,
Tomorrow in 3D IMAX, and then I'm just gonna walk right on over to Mad Monster Party.
Chris, are you gonna see it again?
Yeah. I actually want to take my wife to go see it, but I definitely do need a second viewing. But also, we've got someone in the chat that thinks we're a bunch of paid clowns, so that's fun.
I can't. I never get that on my channel. I'm not big enough to get that on my channel. That's amazing. I love it.
Oh man, I
just crossed
right now.
I just crossed 1,500 subs, so no one's paying me jack shit, bro.
Man, I wish I was being paid. That'd be lovely.
They gotta pay me for it.
Adam, are you planning to see it again or no? Are you a one and doneer?
I don't usually go to movies more than once in theaters. I haven't in a while. Probably not. I'll watch it when it gets home on streaming with the family. Unless my kids really don't have any desire to go out and watch it. So if they wanted to see it, I would take them in a heartbeat. But
sure, yeah, good point. All right, so hang on, wait. Every time I do that, I got to do this.
Yeah.
Just so I have the right person being flipped off.
Swap us around, yeah.
Me and Adam can bump heads.
Before we get Davey's overall thoughts, I'll jump in with mine real quick. It sounds like a lot of us are sort of in a similar place where we enjoyed it. It was a bit, I think overstuffed is a very good way to put it. I don't think it was overstuffed to the point where anything particularly got short shrift necessarily. Like everyone had their arcs and everything, but some of them were really truncated arcs, Yeah. But I think for the most part, this is David Cornsweet is, if someone were to tell me or ask me, who is the most comic accurate Superman, it's got to be either Christopher Reeve or David Cornsweet. Shout out to Tim Daly though, animated soups. But I think David Cornsweet has played the most human Superman we've ever gotten. And to me, considering he's raised on Earth by 2 humans, I think that's probably the most accurate portrayal as to what he would be. And, he's eventually regal and stuff. Like, it's so funny that so many people that forgive the massive death toll that Henry Cavill causes are like up against David Cornsweet being too goofy, so it's a silly comparison, but Cornsweet just was he was emblematic of what a superpowered being raised to be human would be, in my opinion. And I think that's the most accurate portrayal. And what I loved is, again, we're keeping this non-spoiler, but what really shone through was that I loved the lesson that Paw really brought home. It's not about what your parent, it's not up to your parents to say what you're supposed to be. It's up to them to give you the tools to make the decision what you're what you want to be. And so that my overall thoughts in essence, without getting too far into the minutia just yet, I loved it for what it was, because it was absolutely the most comic book Superman that we've ever gotten, and perhaps more comic booky of a movie than even we've gotten on the Marvel side of things, because it felt like straight up like so many people have said, Saturday morning cartoon version of Superman, and that's not a bad thing to me. Like, I will agree that I think that this didn't necessarily have the the heart core that like the original Guardians of the Galaxy did, but I think it's because he was trying to set up so much that he didn't really have room for that. But yeah, overall, I think this was a fantastic start to what we're going to have coming our way. Davey, the one that just stepped out of the theater, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess maybe my opinion might be the most controversial one of them all, because the whole time watching this movie, I was thinking, this isn't really that different from Man of Steel. Honestly, I think that the from all of the talk that we had online and all of the divisiveness, and you're either on this side of the fence or you're on this side of the fence, and these people hate these other people, which just seems to like permeate every little bit of our fucking existence now. Excuse my language. I was like, man, this movie, yes, it does have its lighthearted moments. It is brighter. There are great, little bits of humor. There's an awesome romance, which was really cool to see. But man, this movie does some dark things and has some other elements that Man of Steel also shared as well. There are certain scenes where I was like, man, I saw a scene very much like this, where the government kind of is getting involved and all this sort of stuff. And so I was like, man, this is like, I was telling my brother a little bit about it. I'm like, it's just like if you cut things right in the middle, it's like one is on one side of the fence just barely, the other is on the other side of the fence just barely. I don't think it's that different. So I implore all of the Zack Snyder fans out there that from whatever you've heard, whether it's like, whatever channel or whatever social media post you've seen, give this movie a chance, because I got goosebumps multiple times. I felt like they were trying to make me cry a handful of times as well, even in like sweet moments that were just happy moments, not even like necessarily sad stuff. But I do think that like some of the action scenes and some of the, I felt like I was behind Superman the whole time here, and I felt like I kept on wanting him to rise to the occasion throughout the film. And I wanted to see some more of those dynamic heights than I was able to see, unfortunately, as if he just all of a sudden remembers or realizes that he is as powerful and awesome as he is. But I understand that it's a pretty young Superman as well. So, yeah, I love the emotional connection. The side characters were a lot of fun. I thought Lex was great. Michael Rosenbaum's probably always going to be my favorite Lex, but I did really like Nicholas Hoult here as well. I really enjoyed Mr. Terrific. I thought that was like he and Lois. I think they kind of not stole the show, but they were featured in such a way where I was like, this is really cool. And Rachel Brosnahan is not only like beautiful and all that stuff. She is a very she has this look in her eyes that just like draws you in. Certain performers have that. And yeah, to kind of just echo what you guys said about David Cornsweet, I think he's fantastic here. The inner turmoil, the discovery, the doubt, like all of these things. I feel like we kind of want to see these elements in almost every comic book character, but handled in different ways and gone through different channels. And I think the way they do it here is really great. And I really like Man of Steel a lot. I like all of the iterations of Superman except for Superman Returns, which breaks my friggin' heart and I think spits in the face of the lore and the fans. But I grew up with Christopher Reeve. I used to put my hair in a curl after the bath and tuck in a red old towel in my t-shirt and run around the house and act like Superman in the mid 80s. So I grew up with all that Boy Scout stuff. I like Boy Scout Superman. I think it was cool that we had a little shift, because I think these comic book characters, whether it's the comics or the films, when somebody new takes over, you get a little bit of a different vision. And we got the Henry Cavill Snyder version, and I think it's very appropriate to go back to the traditional Boy Scout Superman. And James Gunn did a really good job here with that. The only thing where I felt like he really failed, soundtrack was weak, bro. With how good you did on Guardians of the Galaxy, what the hell were these songs? Holy cow. That Mr. Terrific scene with Lois Lane, where they do their thing. I was like, what the hell is this song? This is terrible. But I love the score. I thought the score was great. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And I'm looking forward to checking it out on 3D IMAX. One last thing. The visual effects look better than they do in the trailers. They look finished, especially the baseball field stuff, which looked really weird and rubbery in the trailers. I think looked finished in the film. But yeah, I enjoyed this one.
There's still a bit of rubberiness. There's a little bit of Matrix 2 fight at parts, just a tiny bit. But But yeah, no, okay, cool. No, there's a lot to discuss with this film, so I'm trying to decide where to start, right? So, first off, I'm going to try and not be baited too much by the chat because I gave it a rest when I saw the flying dog. I see that comment and I'm like, crypto was invented in 1955. Like, crypto's been around for a long fucking time. And just people that just don't know. I thought he was fantastic.
What's the problem
I
with
have
crypto?
My dog looks just like crypto.
They think a flying dog puts it over the top. Like, they're okay with Rocket Raccoon, but they're not okay with fucking Crypto the Super Dog. You know what I mean?
The guy wears red trunks on the outside of his... Yeah.
So anyway, okay. So I have a number of topics and questions here. I think the easiest way to go through it here is this. First, let's start on I want to get everyone's kind of thoughts on the acting in this. And one thing I'll say to start here, I thought this was the best characterization of almost every character within the Superman mythos that we've ever gotten. We didn't see quite enough of Perry White to be able to say that he was the best Perry White, but I think this is the best Lois. This is the most comic accurate Jimmy. I loved this Clark, and Lex. I thought so. I both loved Lex, but also feel like I had two problems with this movie. One was something they did with the lore. And two was a decision they made with Lex towards the end of the film, which I loved Lex up until they decided to do that. And I was like, he wouldn't do that, especially in front of him.
Okay.
Other than those two things, I thought everything was great, and I absolutely loved the portrayal. To someone, I can't remember who brought up stealing the show, but I thought, quite honestly, as much as I can't deny the fact that he is just 15, 20 years too old for the role, Nathan Fillion knocked Guy Gardner out of the fucking park.
God.
He was so Guy Gardner and so fucking well done Guy Gardner that it made me legitimately pissed that Nathan Fillion is as old as he is, because he did it so well. And like, it's fine. Like, he doesn't need to be young to be Guy Gardner. Clearly, Nathan Fillion has sold me on that. But they did Guy Gardner so well. And quite honestly, I adored Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho. I thought Metamorpho was done so fucking well. And like, he was like, you could tell that he had stuff brewing right below the surface. And he was this, silent but tortured character. And I loved what they did with him. So like, those two guys really stole the show. The only one I thought was kind of weak was, I feel like he didn't let Hawkgirl shine like she should have. Like, she was a little bit undersold to me, but I thought the acting was phenomenal, except for that one decision with Lex towards the end of the movie.
That Hawk screaming was awful.
Right. That's
was
one of the
rough.
things.
Just
Yeah.
awful.
That was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Adam, you jump in then with your thoughts on the acting.
Well, I thought, I agree with your sentiments. I thought all the cast was fantastic outside of the Kents. I really did not care for the Kents.
Wow.
Like the country bumpkin, mostly played for laughs. Like, the mom can't really see the phone very well. And I don't know. I guess I like the more like, the Kevin Costner Let Me Die Man of Steel content. It was also a terrible scene in a movie, but I like him. I like Costner as kind of the more, just like a normal dude. That's such a played for laughs thing that a lot of the characters in this movie were. They were all kind of just one-note jokes. Mr. Terrific was...
Paul made me cry, just to say that. I'll say that.
You cry at every movie. Like, every time we talk, it's like, I can't even have a conversation with you. There it is. Breaking down. Like, what are we doing?
I feel so called out.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mr.
You
Terrific,
cried during the trailer.
I love the character, you motherfuckers. All right, sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
fine. It was
I
really
love
weird
nothing.
when he started doing his like little spiel with Ken, or with Cornhusker or whatever his name is, Corn Sweat. I was like, this guy is kind of doofusy, and now he's doing. Hey, question for you. I'm not trying to be mean, but the actor that plays Pa Kent, does he have like a thing with his eyes where they do
Yes.
that?
He's always done that. I mean,
But
I don't.
is it
I
like,
don't know if it. I think it's a
disability?
choice. No, I think it's
Okay.
a choice because some actors will do that where they won't focus on one eye of their scene partner. They'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
And like, there's only a few actors
Chris,
that
you
do
know
it.
that actor,
I
correct?
fucking hate that.
He's
But
he's an
but he's a
identity.
great
He does
actor.
The same thing.
So Pruitt is a friend.
Okay.
I've been to the man's house. I've seen his cat use his Emmy as a scratching post. So we got to know each other through my ex-partner, who's an actress over there, and we all still keep in touch. We all met at a con. And Pruitt has a condition where his eyes dart back and forth, and that's
Gotcha.
I don't know the proper terminology for it. I think it's where the muscles possibly spasm in the eye. And I was trying not to be biased because he's a friend, but I thought he had a lot of gravitas, levity as Pa Kent. I love Mark Kent as well. Adam, I get what you're saying where they were kind of played off as comedic, but I think that was kind of the endearing quality of them. They're innocent, unaffected, rural Ma and Pa Kent. But I also love that scene where Clark and Pa Kent have that moment. And this isn't a spoiler, like Clark's out there sitting by himself eating brekkie. And I think that was such a good little visual point of for me to be like, okay, I really like this iteration of Superman and Clark Kent because he's there and his tracksuit pants, his sweatpants are too big for him and they're riding up and you see his pasty white legs and I'm like, yes, he's a metahuman, but he's just a dude like eating cereal. And then his dad comes out and has a chat with him. And, I'm trying, again, you're trying to be like, don't be biased because he's a friend. But I'm like, nah, I really like that sequence. But yes, sorry, to answer your question, yes, Pruitt does have a condition where his eyes dart back and forth.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
glad
because
we had a
it was very distracting when he was having the heart-to-heart. I could not get off. The eyes were moving so much. It's like, is this a choice? Is he doing it on purpose? What's going on here? But fair enough. He's got a condition. It still kind of took away a little bit, unfortunately, for me. But yeah, it was a sweet scene. We brought this up before. Everything moves so fast in this film. It would have been nice to get more time with them and get less of the comedic stuff and more of those heart-to-heart moments. There's stuff earlier on even that I can't even get into where I just watch it and go, okay, this is like a plot of a movie right here, and it's basically done in 2 minutes. But focusing on the actors, is it Mr. Terrific? He was terrific. I do think he stole the show. Him and Guy Gardner were great together. Every time, they step into the movie, I'm excited because I've watched Superman get his ass kicked every fucking 5 minutes in this film. So I know when these guys show up, they're going to do some good. They're going to do some damage. And that's another huge problem I have is just how Superman is treated from a Superman standpoint. But we can get into that, I guess, maybe later during story. Overall, though, all the other actors I was really impressed with. The relationship dynamic between Lois and Clark, spot on. Love their dialogue, their back and forth. Jimmy was great. I'm not familiar with the character very much outside of, I think he was in the cartoon series. But the actor, I love that actor from the Iron Claw. Really well done. There's a joke that's in this. I brought it up in my review, but and I think James Gunn's used it before. The whole Justice Gang, is that what they call them? The Justice Gang?
Yeah.
Guy Gardner says this, and it's kind of like a really lazy joke that they keep going with, and it's an easy laugh, but it was just used in the Thunderbolts. They did the exact same thing, and I'm pretty sure James Gunn has used this joke before too in a different superhero team-up movie. So I was both laughing, but also like, come on. Is this the best we can do with the script, Gunn? Anyway,
They paid that, but the joke paid off at the end, though.
No, I know.
It had its funny.
It's the same kind of joke that they do in a lot of movies where they're like, don't make me do this. I will not do this. And then it does the smash cut to that person doing the exact same thing they don't want to do. It's just kind of a cheap writing technique. And that's why I said this movie is very surface level. It's very funny. It's very fun. But I wanted something a little deeper from James Gunn. I was expecting the best of the best. Crypto the dog, I fully agree with you guys. He was awesome. I loved that dog flying around. He was unruly. He was fun as hell. Even the super bots, the Superman robots, Alan Tudyk plays one. I love his voice when he does these performances. All of that was great. I wanted to see more of all of it, and we just got little glimpses, which is unfortunate. But I have a feeling that the second movie is really going to pop off when we get to it. This has a good foundation.
Fair. Chris, your thoughts on the acting?
Yeah, I really love the acting on a whole. Again, going back to Corin Sweat, I thought he did a great job, being heroic, but then also being vulnerable, being earnest, the childlike innocence at some points. I feel like the trailer that started off with Lois interviewing Clark didn't do that scene justice. There was a lot more to it that made it not as, I wouldn't say painful to watch in the trailer, where we got the wrong impression of Clark and Superman. Rachel Brosnahan, I think she's one of my favorite Lois Lanes. I really liked her. I really liked her fieriness. I like Jimmy Olsen. I mentioned about Holtz's Lex. He's one of my favorite Lexes. I think if it's what you're talking about with the certain action or choice that you were talking about, which is a spoiler, we won't go into that, it was jarring. But apart from that, I love Mr. Terrific. I love his dry sense of humor and deadpan delivery, as opposed to Guy Gardner, slick, like a used car salesman. Hawkgirl, I think, was possibly the weakest out of the Justice Gang. I feel like she could have used with a bit more fleshing out, possibly. But there were some choices, like Adam said, the screech and all that was kind of like, I could have done without
she
that.
was fun though. They just didn't utilize
fun,
her.
yeah.
She had kind of like the Aubrey Plaza thing going on, just kind of the emo girl that doesn't seem like she gives a shit about anything, but she's like, all right, we'll go save the world again.
Yeah,
she should have
exactly,
she should have name checked Thanagar, quite honestly. I know you guys probably, none of you know what that is, but
yeah, Thanagar, yeah.
Thanagar. I have something about it right over there.
So all the Hawk people come from a planet called Thanagar. And I feel like that would have been a good setup for like future shit down the line to like show that there's more to her character, because Hawkman and Hawkgirl they're immortal lovers. So whenever they die, they get reborn as a new Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and they always find each other again. So like they actually have a really cool fucking story. And like Thanagar and Ron are like two of the main cosmic battles. It's like the Kree and the Skrulls in Marvel. So like I feel like he should have at least name checked Thanagar. That is such a deep comic cut for anyone watching that no one else will give a shit about, but that's just hey, I gotta be that voice. What am I gonna do?
I would have stood up and cheered if they did that. I would have been like, yes, King.
Fuck you. Lee, your thoughts on the acting?
First, a question for Adam. The blue in your background, is that a cloth or is that an actual like paint?
That's a packing
it's driving me
blanket.
crazy.
I'm in a blanket fort, basically. I'm not even joking. They're packing
That's what I
blankets.
thought.
This
I
is an
think
unfinished
it looks cool. I like
basement.
it.
Yeah, blocks off the. Otherwise, it's just concrete behind me. It looks like I'm in a Turkish prison. So I did what I could.
Yeah, I like to study everybody's backgrounds. It's interesting. About the characters though. Funny enough, I'm glad we had a section to talk about, because that was one of the biggest surprises when they were first on screen, and hearing them talk. My wife looks at me and she goes, "That's your parents." And I go, "Oh my God, you're right," because I grew up in Mississippi, and everybody in Mississippi sounds exactly like that. For the elderly folk, but I latched onto them immediately because those. How do I say this? I've seen those type of people growing up so much, and they're always like just the friendliest, most earnest, down to earth, old fashioned type people that you could ever talk to. And it's hard if you don't grow up with that to see past the accent, because I had sort of that accent when I was growing up, and then I joined the military, and I moved every 3 years to all these different places, and my accent, like when I would go home, my mom would say, what happened to your accent? It's like almost gone. And because my mom, she talks like this. She talks real Southern, so my daddy.
You got to do a whole episode in that accent, Lee.
Yeah,
I really could, because that's how I talked growing up. Everybody in my school, they talk like that. It's Mississippi for you. But
review a Mississippi movie.
Yeah. I wanted more of everybody, but yeah, Amon Pa Kent, it was just such a shocker to have those types of characters. But I noticed somebody in the chat too. They said James Gunn is like, he's the safe director. I can't remember exactly what he said, but I think James Gunn, he makes it look easy, but yet you are laughing with the characters, like effortless. You know, when you're watching a movie and all the comedy feels forced, like it feels like the script coming out from the page, you know? And
I watched Brideheart in theaters.
Exactly. Thank you, Adam. Perfect
yeah.
example. You're getting pissed off at the dialogue that's coming at you because it feels forced. It feels like it's written by somebody that's trying way too hard to sound witty, and it just comes off as fake. James Gunn, at least in my opinion, by the time you have those jokes from Guy Gardner, especially Guy Gardner, it felt so real. Like that character would say that, you know, because he's kind of the butt of every joke. And I identified with that because that's something that we don't see in movies that often these days. So when you do see it, you really appreciate it. Yeah, maybe he makes it look safe. He makes it look easy, but you know, he's just really fun. As far as all the other characters, though, I mean, I could echo what everybody else says. I loved pretty much everyone, and I knew I would love them because James Gunn just has a thing for characters. Watch every James Gunn movie. His even if you don't like the movie, his characters leap off the freaking screen. There's just something about them. You want to hang out with them, or they might be too gross and you want to be away from them. But they're just amazing characters. They really are. So yeah, that's my thought on the characters.
Hell yeah. Davey.
Yeah, I think the characters are all pretty well defined here, and especially when it comes to like the Justice Gang, those three characters are all very different. And, you know, sometimes I think when you write a movie, it's easy for a person to just sort of write all of the characters the same way. I'm not going to name anybody, but there are some writers and filmmakers I can think of where I'm like, man, all these characters talk the same way. And here, especially with those Justice Gang characters, we get that. I think also, you know, to just, I think the choices that the actors are making here, along with the script, are really good. I don't think James Gunn is too safe. I'm guessing the person that said that in the chat probably hasn't seen the movie, because I was actually surprised at some of the language in the film.
Yeah,
I felt like they made some decisions with the language that I've never seen in a Superman movie before. So it was kind of
five shits.
Yeah, it was just refreshing to hear something that was like, this is kind of like how people talk. You know, it doesn't reach like crazy levels of vulgarity or anything, but this is kind of how people talk. And yeah, I felt like the characters, I mean, this is, I think, the best Lois Lane I've seen on screen.
She's great.
Really, yeah, really love Core and Sweat. Love I think their romance. It was like refreshing to see a romance that wasn't like pulled back. I feel like in movies nowadays, I'm just like, where are the love, like not even a love story, but where is like, can these characters kiss? Can we stop doing like head bumps and nose touches and actually like see a little bit of tongue and see some friggin' passion here? Like it just seems like something that Hollywood seems to be afraid of, and I don't know why.
There was that article on Netflix, that one random ass poll and a bunch of articles about how they had a bunch of people take a poll about relationships in films, and it was an overwhelming amount of people said, no, we don't want to see kissing or any affection in movies. So it's like all the studios are like, get it out of there.
Weird. Yeah, it's really even weirder when people are just head bumping and you're like, so no one's got a sex drive here. Yes. But yeah, it's just sort of like, what the hell is that? I love the performance of the what's her name? The girl that's is it Eve, the Lex's girlfriend?
Yeah, Eve. So that's Miss Tessmacher. For anyone that has watched the first movie that wasn't aware, that Eve Tessmacher is that character's name. So when Gene Hackman used to go, Miss Tessmacher, that's the character that she is. She's just
did Hawk Girl just enter the stream? Fair. I thought she was a lot of fun. She was like, you know, maybe she's a little too goofy for people, but yeah, that's exactly what I thought of. Is I was like, I love when you know, Lex has like some girlfriend that for some reason he has, even though he's like supposed to be this maniacal genius, he keeps like this complete dolt around. And I liked the way that they made her character mean something in the greater story. So that was cool as well. So I think, you know, there's a lot jam packed in here. I can't think of anyone that did a poor job in performance. And, you know, I know somebody had said earlier in the chat something about the how Pa Kent, didn't work for them. But I think that scene right there, like small amount of screen time for the Kent parents, but especially with Pa Kent, that was one of the moments where like I was about to cry. And has such a huge role in, Clark and Superman's character arc in the story. So it's this little bit of screen time, massive impact. And I think that like when you can do that with a character through the writing and through the performance, that's an awesome, powerful thing to have in a movie, especially a movie that some people are saying is overstuffed. I even liked the woman that played like the created metahuman. I always thought she was a Kryptonian in the previews, but apparently that's not the case. I dug her performance as well. So there was no one here where I was like, this person again. So yeah, I dug the performances here.
Speaking of Anthony Kerrigan, have any of you guys watched Barry?
Yeah. Oh, that's why I know him. I loved him. As soon as
they announced Anthony Kerrigan and I saw him, I was like, oh my God. I've watched Barry the whole series a couple of times. And he is probably, besides the main character, but he's probably one of my favorite characters because he's just so unique and
he's so funny and
unorthodox, but hilarious. Hank, oh my God, I love that character. So I knew he would knock it out of the park as a Metamorpho.
And I haven't watched it yet because I want to react to it. But if I'm not mistaken, if any of you guys have watched the brand new Twisted Metal Season 2 trailer, I believe Anthony Kerrigan is playing Eclipso. Which is fucking awesome to me. Like, I am so excited to react to that trailer because Twisted Metal is like near and dear to my heart. But yeah, Anthony Kerrigan, I absolutely, again, I mentioned it earlier, Metamorpho, he did so fucking good as Metamorpho. And honestly, Anthony Kerrigan was so good in Barry, I thought he was like Western European. But no, he's like straight American. Like he does not have that accent at all. And he's so good as Metamorpho. But I want to speak to the Kents. So again, just to give everyone context that hasn't, because quite frankly, I've got, let me just put this in perspective. I've got 30 people watching on my channel, but we have 160 people watching total. So there's a lot of you guys out there watching that aren't aware of my history. I've been reading Superman and collecting Superman literally weekly since he died in 1992. So I have a very huge affinity for this character, and being able to see a lot of these things in this film come to life is fantastic. And regarding the Kents, I always loved, my favorite Ma and Pa Kent has always been the Smallville Kents. I think that John Snyder and Annette O'Toole.
Yeah, Annette O'Toole.
Yeah, I think they were fucking fantastic and like some of the best. For the cinematic Kents, I think these two were amazing. And yes, they did go a little far into like the podunk accent sort of thing, but I was laughing my ass off at Martha, like just having to lean over the phone just because she doesn't understand that she doesn't have to, and like I loved. I'm not gonna like, I want to repeat John's, the bit that made me cry, but I won't do that. But
don't cry, Cecil.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me cry.
But like, I was able to put, as someone with a 4-year-old son, like I was putting myself in those shoes years down the line, and the ability to say what Jonathan says is like something that I really hope I'm able to do, kind of thing. So like it landed really personally for me, but Pruitt really nailed that so well. Like the little catch and everything was just so good. So I think the Kents were magical. I got to be honest with you. Like as someone that's read and loved the comics for so many years, I feel like, for the little bit of time that we got them, I feel like Gunn definitely did them justice. So now I did have a section here where I was going to ask about everyone's thoughts on the action and effects, but quite honestly, these are all questions that you guys are covering in your own reviews anyway. So I'm going to move on to a different question that some of you may have touched on, but how do we feel about this as the beginning of the new DC universe? So I will say that I appreciated the fact that we didn't need to do the origin story again. I am quite frankly a big fan of how we got the origin story. So Lee, this might surprise you. I liked the origin story at the beginning of Batman v Superman, that we got just the quick, shots, slow motion shots of what happened with Bruce. I feel like we could get that with Superman. We just get, quick glance of Lara and Jor, as they realize their planet's dying. We get a quick fade in and out as they put Clark in the ship. The ship takes off, fade in and out. The planet blows up. Boom. We're into everything else. Like, we don't need to do a whole deep thing. So I will say Zack Snyder did do that right, I feel like. So I feel like we could get something like that in this world. I'm not mad at the fact that we didn't, though. I think that it's a little bit cheesy and a little bit shortcutty to do, the whole text intro. While I do appreciate the context that we got at the beginning of the film, I think it's a little on the cheesy side, and I'm always a fan of show don't tell. So, but it is what it is.
Did the 3 have any significance? Because
not specifically.
People
there's
didn't
not.
See it. The intro is just 3 centuries ago, 3 decades ago.
That was just the writer. That was just James being clever.
Yeah. But that's not clever because 3 doesn't. Have
that's
any
why I did
meaning.
quotes. But yeah. So yeah. As far as the start of I will say though, that one scene in particular that we actually get some of in the trailer that you don't get the context of the background, but it's when Clark and Lois are having a conversation with a big star thing in the background. The context of that scene is great, and that is the DCU. Like, you can be dealing with an emotional discussion here while in the background a whole bunch of crazy shit's going on. That's very DCU.
That was fun.
I loved that. Like, that was very encapsulating of what the DCU can be. And I also loved that, like, James Gunn almost entirely put up 2 full fingers at Zack Snyder as far as what Superman would be doing if a kaiju was attacking the city, which is mainly making sure that not a bunch of shit is destroyed and not a bunch of people are killed. Like that.
Well, spoiler: he saves a squirrel at one point,
which I dug it. I thought it was it was comic relief, but it's like, yeah, he cares that much about life that small.
No,
like,
it was good.
So I loved all that. So yeah, to me, while it wasn't as focused of a Superman story as I necessarily would have liked, as the beginning of the DCU, and to just like literally throw the audience in, but in a gentle enough way that they dug it. And I loved that he made Mr. Terrific as fucking badass as Mr. Terrific can be. Like, again, I feel like Mr. Terrific is the Guardians of the Galaxy character of this movie, where no one knew anything about Mr. Terrific, but all of a sudden Mr. Terrific is like beloved, just like the Guardians of the Galaxy characters were, after the first movie.
The whole Justice crew was the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, a lot of people don't know who Guy Gardner is.
Yeah, but I don't think there's an analog for Hawk Girl as far as lack of appreciation. I think everyone kind of liked all the Guardians, but nonetheless,
does Mr. Terrific know that he has black licorice tape on his face?
Yes.
It's very, it's edible. You just pull it off and eat it, bro. Like,
He's too smart to even acknowledge the joke. All right, so let's go backwards on this. Davey, your thoughts on it being the start of the DCU?
Yeah, I think this is, that's when people are saying it's overstuffed or they have issues with how much is going on in it, I think it is because it's the foundation, it's the launch pad of everything from here. So you kind of need to take those risks in some of these movies. I don't think they are having to fast track it. Like, I think Warner Brothers learned from the way they mishandled Zack Snyder and the way they mishandled that approach. I don't think they ever gave Snyder like a really fair shot to really do what he wanted to do, what he wanted to do. They kept on pushing him to, Marvel had 5 years between Iron Man and the Avengers or something like that to put out a handful of movies. And Warner Brothers was like, no, Zack Snyder, you need to do it in one movie. And then the next one's going to be the team up. And we're just going to fast track this bitch. And so it seems like they've learned and they're giving Gunn the time. And yeah, there's a lot going on here, but it's a lot to like. So I do think that, in the next movie, Chris, I'm not sure if you had said that. Oh, we got a little crypto action in the hangout here. I think you sort of need to do a movie like this so the next one can really take even bigger chances and focus more on, one or two of these characters. So yeah, I mean, I think as far as the start of the universe goes, it's the good way to go. Well, look at that little crypto. It is
Yeah,
crypto.
I'm trying, dude.
Holy shit, it is! Wow.
I told you, I have crypto, man.
Why
I'm
haven't you
not playing.
gotten him a cape yet?
Oh boy.
And I want.
know. I'm going to put him in the spoiler review.
There you go.
Get
him a fucking cape.
I wanted to acknowledge a couple chats here because we got one.
Yes,
there was a
we did get a super chat. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a super chat that came through over on your side, on my side as well. Leanna Bevy Rage, who's one of the mods on my channel, she said, I'm intrigued about this new Superman. I do enjoy James Gunn movies. Guardians of the Galaxy was more fun than I expected with good sequels. And I think that's kind of what we're getting here with Superman, is like something that's just like a fresh beginning. And I think the sequels and whatever else comes from this, from the other characters, have like a really good shot at being even better than what we got here with this introduction. And then Happy Sanjo posted a $9.99 and said, between the budget of 225 to 250 million and the marketing budget, which was reported to be one of the biggest ever, a soft 130 million opening. Is that true? Any box office predictions? He says, I hope it does well.
So 130 million is a soft opening to Happy Sancho?
I mean, just for one night? Is that just the one night? I don't know.
I mean, even as an opening weekend, that's pretty solid.
I don't think that's a one night. Well, I mean, can they predict the weekend this early on? I mean, what is this?
They can only predict the pre-sales and the people that purchase their tickets on apps, but there are going to be people that walk up and buy tickets. My theater was relatively filled on a Thursday at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
So
I'm seeing 200 million. I've seen a couple of.
That's what I've seen. Yeah.
Bless you, Chris.
I've seen a couple people say 200 million. So.
All right, so continuing backwards, Lee, your thoughts on whether this is a good launch of the DCU?
You know, I was literally thinking that, like, as the credits were rolling, I was like, as a start, because James Gunn's not directing all these movies, and he has such a distinct style that, Nia DaCosta, isn't she directing? Or am I getting my directors mixed up?
She's doing 28 Days Later, the next 28 days.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed up. But I know James Gunn's
don't make me think about that.
I know that would be a very dark Supergirl. Sorry. Yeah, I don't.
Maybe,
I don't know
depending
if you
on what part of the movie we're talking about.
Right. I don't know if you could repeat this tone. Just because James Gunn has such a distinct flavor, but I don't know. I appreciate this tone, and I would love if every movie has this sort of tone. So it's a little wild, though, for a major IP like DC, right out the gate. Like, to me, this is the 10th movie in the run, the Guardians of the Galaxy movie that surprises everybody, and we've already had like the lead up to this, and this is like the breath of fresh air. But we just so happen to be getting this first. That's what it feels like to me, because I'd be shocked if the rest of the movies have this sort of tone.
Yeah, I'm going to be very curious to see. That's part of the next question I have, so we'll save that. So, Chris, your thoughts?
I think it's not the most perfect start to the DCU, but it's a decent start with potential. I feel like it's got good bones for the foundation. I liked, and I said in my review, that there was no fuck around factor. They get straight into the action. I like the little text scroll, just catch you up, done. That's it. We don't need any more explanation. We don't need to show it again. We know, like, even surface level Superman fans, for the most part, know his origin story, but they get straight to the action. It's established. He's established. Other metahumans are established. Other characters who may be together are established. So, yeah, I think while there's a few teething problems, I think it definitely is a decent start with a lot of potential. Like I said, good bones to the foundation. It's making me curious to see what's going to come next and where these characters are going to go. Well, whilst it wasn't my exact ideal start to the DCU, I don't think it is, for the most part, anyone's. But there are going to be people that were like, no, that was perfect, which is amazing. But I think this has a lot of potential, flaws, warts and all.
Nice. Adam.
I think this might come off insulting, but it really isn't supposed to be, because Gunn, at the end of the day, is also like the boss of the DCU. He's got to make sure that there's a lot of profit here. And this movie could very well be like the Illumination version of the DCU. It is very much aimed at families. and it is very simplistic in style with a lot of noise going on. And I think they can carry that very successfully through a lot of different movies. They're just probably not going to be movies I'm going to be super jazzed about. You know, as a middle-aged man, clearly they're going at a younger audience. And that's probably the smart play, because those Illumination movies make a shit ton of money. And I don't mind a good amount of them. I think the Despicable Me movies are fun, and the Grinch and all that. It's just not, they're not deep, bro. They're not deep movies. To Chris's point about the beginning of this, it's really weird. I think that's the biggest issue I have with this overall movie is Gunn is assuming that all fans know who Superman is, that he's super strong and can take on anything. And so we start this movie with the text crawl saying he's been doing it for 3 years and he's never lost a fight. And this movie's going to be all about how he loses fights. And I think you really do need to set the standards as a new Superman going in of just even showing a montage or something for a few minutes saying, like, look at this guy. This is what he's capable of doing. This is how he's won the audience. This is how he's won the world over on how amazing he is. Then we get to see why he's up against the ropes. Just doing it in a text crawl gives me nothing to go on. He's taken a lot of liberties with Superman fans. And that's a big concern with this film. But
I didn't see one
fix
eyeball stop a bullet.
No eyeballs stopped bullets in this movie. That's
Not
a problem.
Dude.
Yeah.
Not one time was he stabbed with a piece of kryptonite and then flew a kryptonite island into space. God damn it.
Not one truck was put through a telegraph pole.
Did,
All right.
did that
So
Superman fight? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Pedro Pascal wasn't in this movie, and I'm
Jesus.
pissed.
He probably was somewhere. He's in the background.
Yeah, true.
He got
true.
big 20
He was the
million.
guy with the mustache, right?
No,
the guy in
yeah,
Lexus
yeah,
place
yeah.
with the
That was
mustache.
So, okay, next question is this. And I'm going to kind of mix the next two questions together. Are we excited for the next Superman movie and or Supergirl, which we know is the next DCU film that we're going to get? It's not the next DCU project. The next DCU project is going to be Peacemaker Season 2. But the next DCU film is meant to be Supergirl with Millie Alcott and, of course, Jason Lobo-ass Momoa. So I'm curious to know what you guys think or what your thoughts are on what to be excited about. Just briefly for myself, I'm excited for both. I was not expecting, you know what? Can't say that because spoiler, but I will say that having read the Supergirl comics,
Nice.
I am excited for what we're going to get. There may or may not be a choice that is controversial to certain people in this film, but to me, it sets up perfectly that there's going to be an arc coming forward, and so to that end, I don't know which I'm more excited for. I guess I'm more excited for the next Superman because I think that having gotten this one out of the way, I feel like maybe James Gunn will be able to like shake off all the excess shit that was like sitting on his shoulders to make sure to get done for this first film, which is A, tell a Superman story, B, give all the characters arcs, and C, also set up an entire new movie universe. I feel like he might be able to
make a bunch of money so that this thing doesn't shit the bed right out of the gates.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's a lot to balance for one movie. So I feel like having shed some of that, I am hoping / anticipating that he'll be able to focus in a little bit more. And while there, yes, will be other characters from the DCU, I feel like next time around they'll be more directly involved in the story, and like there will be more of a reason for them to be there. At least that's my hope. So that's what I'm into. I am more excited about the next Superman because we did get confirmation like a few days ago that Gunn said that they are indeed going to be working on a Superman sequel. But I'm curious to know y'all's thoughts. And again, keeping this spoiler free. Let's jump to you first this time, Chris.
As in, like, am I excited for what's going to come next?
Yeah, are you excited for what's coming next? And to tag up on it, are you more excited for the next Superman or for what we may get in Supergirl, which is coming next?
I'm definitely excited to see what's going to come next, man. Like I echo what a few of you guys said. I think this film was definitely a breath of fresh air. Even though it, has a few problems here and there, I like the tone. I like the upbeat, almost adventure serial aspect at times. So I'm keen to see if that aesthetic and tone stays true with whatever comes next. I'm very excited for Supergirl. Very keen to see how things are going to look design wise, especially when it comes to like Lobo and Millie's costume, stuff like that. Going to be interesting to see where Peacemaker goes from here on out. In terms of the next Superman, of course, yeah, I'm keen. Like Corin Sweat definitely sold me. I wouldn't say I had doubts initially, but there always is that fear when you haven't seen the film yet and you only see trailers and they usually only show the best parts. You're like, are they, not showing us something that when we see the final product, we're going to be like, it was a letdown. The trailers had it pitched as one thing and then it was something completely different. But he has so much potential as Superman. I feel like a lot of thought went into his process. He's acting as well, the way he modulates his voice, much like Christopher Reeve did. And that's, Christopher Reeve is in his own, like he just absolutely nailed it with the mannerisms. But I felt like Corin Sweat was a worthy, not opponent, but he did a damn good job. So I'm very keen to see where he takes that character and what situation his Superman is going to be put in, whether it be one more film, couple of more films, teaming up with other people. Gunn said, and this isn't a spoiler, this was in an interview, a public interview. One of the interviewers was like, so how do you think Corin Sweat would think seeing someone dressed up as the Bat? And Gunn's like, who's to say he hasn't seen someone dressed up as a Bat? And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So, but with saying that, I'm interested to see where they're going to take the character of Batman in this universe. So yeah, there's a lot to be excited for, a lot to be nervously apprehensive about, but again, with for me, a fresh aesthetic like this and something a bit more upbeat and lighter in tone, I'm intrigued.
Okay, so before I move on to the next person, I also want to tag up on this. So again, which are you kind of more excited about, Supergirl or Superman? And the tag up, well, maybe I'll hold it aside. But Chris, just for you, now that we've both seen the movie, I feel like there's room for perhaps some more focused Elseworld short side stories. Don't you think?
I think so, 100%. I think even though James Gunn has a lot of characters in this film, it opens up and plants that seed with, like you said, Elseworld tales and other characters that can be introduced, or other characters that we only got a glimpse of, where that can go with certain spin-offs, etc.
Or even, other versions of Superman and personal 100%. Stories that might involve him,
Yep.
So moving along very slyly. So let's go to Adam.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Superman or Supergirl and what you are expecting and or hoping to get or avoid.
I'm optimistic about all of it. I think Supergirl is going to kick ass. Who's directing Supergirl? Do we know? Did we say?
I don't know offhand.
Can we give it to Edgar Wright, please? Because I think that would be a freaking awesome movie. But
Supergirl is entirely off Earth. Just so everyone knows, that story is a space odyssey.
Okay, so. that actually sounds even more fun to me. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I really enjoyed Peacemaker season 1. I think it's hilarious that that's the only thing that's coming back out of the DCEU because it's James Gunn's thing. So it's like, yeah, I'm bringing this back. I don't give a shit. I like seeing that a lot. That was a really well done series. I'm excited for season 2. I don't give a shit about Lobo, but is he in Supergirl? Is he the villain in that?
So Lobo is a bounty hunter in the DCU, and there is a bounty hunter in the Supergirl comic story, but it's not Lobo because he was tied up in other shit at the time. So they're just replacing the bounty hunter in the story with Lobo, which makes a ton of sense. But Lobo is he as a character just so everyone knows, Lobo is the last Zarnian, which is like CZARNIAN.
Yeah, I knew that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I'm explaining it, Adam. Fucking shut the fuck up for a second. But basically, Zarnians are the DC Universe's Wolverines. So Lobo can be decimated down to a drop of blood and he'll grow back. And he is just he's funny because he was the DC's way around cursing. So like instead of bitch, he would say bastich. And like instead of fuck, he'd say fraggin', you know. So like he was Deadpool for the DC universe, but under the comics code.
He's Maroni from Johnny Dangerously, the Michael Keaton comedy film from the 80s.
I love the reference, but I have not seen it that many times to be able to get that.
You farging ice horse.
Oh yeah, basically, yeah. That's Lobo's thing is
also.
Yeah, Lobo says you fraggin' bastitches. Like that's kind of his thing. But Jason Momoa looks more like Lobo than anyone on the planet Earth looks like Lobo. So it's going to be fantastic. And even he said that he's been wanting to play Lobo since getting cast as Aquaman. And like James Gunn said in an interview that as soon as he was announced to be the head of DCU, the first call he got was from Momoa saying, "Yo, Lobo!" And like they worked it out from there. So I'm supremely excited about Supergirl for that alone, but also the fact that, and Gunn has revealed this too, this is not a spoiler, Krypto features heavily in the Supergirl story, which is true in the comics as well. So, there's a lot of fun coming our way in Supergirl. And quite honestly, if they're following the story, it's a lot more focused fun. That, like, to be perfectly honest with you guys, and I'll call it right now, Supergirl is going to be a way more focused movie than Superman was.
I can't imagine it's going to be any less focused.
Yeah, it can't be less.
That's fair. But seriously, people are going to be surprised at how good Supergirl is if they do it right. But it is almost going to be entirely off of the planet Earth. So we'll see if that works. That'll also be kind of a trial run to see if Green Lanterns is going to work, because Green Lantern is a space cop story. Like, only a few storylines take place on Earth. So we'll see if the people can get into space stuff. They did with Guardians. So, we'll see. All right. Who was next? Who didn't I hit yet? Lee, did I hit you on this one? As far as excitement between Superman and Supergirl? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I see James Gunn with a whiteboard, 20 different ways I can completely beat Superman's ass in movies. And that's what we got out of this movie. But I do think there's a such thing as superhero fatigue. Having said that, there are certain characters that I'm their day one, and those two characters are usually Superman and the Hulk. I am always there day one for those. I'll make every exception because I love those two characters with all my heart. I cry every Hulk shows up lately, but that's okay.
I was gonna say sorry for your loss on the Hulk. Jesus.
Yeah, thank you, man, because it's been brutal, dude.
Oh, Lee, come on, you got She-Hulk now.
I know. Yeah, right. They saved me with that. It's brutal because I'm a big fan of 2008 Hulk. Yeah. And I was like, that's the Bill.
Wait, the Ang Lee Hulk? No, that's the Incredible Hulk. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Louis Leterrier. Yeah. The second movie in the MCU run. But as far as, I'm a DC guy at heart, outside of the Hulk and Spider-Man and all those guys, but I get more excited about DC. And again, my heart was broken as the DCEU started fading in quality. But Marvel's kind of doing that right now too. I'm excited for the future. I'm definitely excited for Lobo and Supergirl. I'm Clayface is supposed to be a horror movie, so that looks interesting.
Dude, I'm so excited for Clayface.
I'm excited.
Is that Elseworlds or whatever you call it, or is that?
He hasn't said so. No, that I believe that's anticipated to be proper DCU, and it's exciting because they're doing Basil Karlo. There's been a few different Clayfaces. Basil Karlo is the actor that becomes Clayface, and so that's the best, most rich Clayface story there is, and definitely what could be a better body horror story than a Clayface story? Like a dude who's literally melting into clay and doesn't know why or how to stop it. Like, what a fucking great idea for a movie. And Written by Mike Flanagan? Yes, please.
Yep.
Hire
Sorry,
Demi Moore, The Substance 2, Clayface.
Didn't mean to cut you off, though. Did I cut you off, Lee? Sorry. Please continue.
No, you're good. Yeah. I mean, my short answer is yeah. I'm always curious about what DC's doing. If they're bringing the lower deep cut type characters, I that stuff than the 17th Spider-Man movie. So it looks like James Gunn's going to try to do that. He's going to try to dig deep and pull out some interesting, because at the end of the day, I love an interesting, fun story that's going to surprise me, that brings forth characters that I've never really dealt with before. Right. So yeah, I'm excited for sure. With James Gunn at the helm. Yeah, let's go.
Davey?
Yeah, I am excited for more Superman over Supergirl. I think Tyler had put in there, I brought up the IMDb page, but yeah, it's this guy, Craig Gillespie, did like I, Tonya, Cruella, the 2011 Fright Night. He did Lars and the Real Girl, Mr. Woodcock. I don't know. This guy just seems kind of pedestrian. I get worried about like directors that haven't really like, I don't know. I get worried about all this kind of stuff, really. But I think that with the little bit we know about Supergirl, it could be a really fun movie. However, it's all about like how they handle. I get really nervous with these movies just about how they're going to handle the characters and what kind of story they're going to write that's appropriate. I think with what we know about Superman now from this movie, that I feel more confident that movie, a sequel to this movie, would be more entertaining and better than something like Supergirl. But I like the world that they've begun to craft here. So I guess I'll just wait and see once we get a little something to look at. And yeah, I mean, as far as like stuff like Clayface, I think sounds awesome. I love that 2-parter episode from the animated series. One of my favorite pieces of Batman material that's out there. And I do think, something that I mentioned right at the beginning of my opening statements, where I said that this has darker elements, that this movie wasn't so drastically different from Man of Steel than I expected it to be. And I do think with some of the dark stuff that we saw in the film, and the people in the chat that have seen it so far, like, exactly what I'm talking about, that this is a world where like a serious dark Batman could exist. I don't think that you have to soften Batman. And I don't think you have to make Superman like Batman. Come on, fans. Like, get the character, like, get it all together a little bit. Like, there's a whole bunch of different versions of these characters. There's different wrinkles and different layers to what we can do with these characters. And just because Superman is one way doesn't mean Batman can't be the polar opposite. There's a reason why they're two of the most popular comic book characters of all time. They are not that similar. So I think that you don't even need an Elseworlds to have a really gritty Batman. Now, I don't expect them to bring in Pattinson into this world just because they already crafted that world that he exists in. But I do think that we can get a serious, awesome Batman. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to what they've got. This is it's a foundation, and it works more for me as a complete movie. Whereas the other week I just saw 28 Years Later, and I'm like, the fuck is this shit? Like, this is like the first first three episodes of a TV show that I don't want to watch, instead of a 3-act story. And so I feel like in this movie we get that 3-act story. It doesn't just feel like, oh, you're watching the first handful of episodes of a TV show. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Bring on Clayface. Bring on some rated R crazy action.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, you reminded me of a point that I think is clear now, that after having seen this James Gunn Superman, I couldn't be more sure that Pattinson cannot be the Batman of this universe. It's just not the same fucking world, period. Not at all. And and it's funny because someone was asking, like, okay, so are we going to get the blue and gray Batman? And Gunn was like, I don't know. We haven't really decided what we're going to get, but it sounded like probably not. Like the blue and gray Batman is like kind of Silver Agey Batman, even though it lasted into the 80s and even 90s. But the gray tones is probably what they're going to go for. I don't know if they'll give Batman the trunks the way Superman has. Probably not. But my question...
I think animated series Batman could work in this universe.
I think so too. But which one? Like, there's a couple of different animated Batman designs, right?
Yeah.
Which one would work? But my question, and Adam,
giant shoulders.
You can jump in. Let's not do the absolute Batman. That'd be funny as fuck. But anyway, Adam, you be the first to answer this. Do you guys want? Because Gunn said Superman will be back soon. He did not say Superman will be back soon in his solo movie. So, if you had a choice between a Superman 2 that is a solo Superman movie or a World's Finest where he does Superman and the new Batman in a movie, which would you prefer? And I'm going to ask all of you this. I'm going to start with Adam here.
I don't know, because again, I don't feel like we really got a solo Superman movie here. You know, he's in it, but there's a lot of people in this movie, so putting Batman in the second one wouldn't really bother me that much, but it would be nice to get like a pared back Superman movie for the sequel where it is a bit more focused on him and Lois and just maybe one big threat that can challenge him for the sequel. I look at some of my favorite superhero movies of all time. They're all the sequels. X-Men 2, even Days of Future Past later is really good. The Dark Knight,
Spider-Man
Logan,
2.
Spider-Man 2. It seems like the second one is when they really get to showcase how great that character can be. So I hope for Superman 2, it's just a lot more focused on him solely. How he manages to do that, I mean, that's his cross to bear, but I'll be there day one to watch it.
Okay. Chris, what about you?
I echo everything Adam says. Yeah, focused more on Superman. We've tried to establish all of these characters in the first film. Now let's really focus on him being the Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And doing things that, like, you know, for a lot of the runtime, he does get his ass handed to him. But I think at the same time as well, him having those vulnerable moments makes me appreciate the character a lot more. And I feel like Corin Sweat did a good job with that. But yeah, I think just have a bit more of a focus on him as a character, Lois, Lex, like the core crew that we want to see in the world of Superman.
I agree. I'm going to jump in just real quick. I would rather see a solo Superman than a World's Finest. Let's not repeat the mistakes that Snyder made.
Those are the other things.
Immediately. You know what I mean? And for sure, let's not kill Superman in movie 2.
Yeah.
Like, for sure, let's not do that again. It's funny. One of you, when we were talking about the Lois and Clark stuff earlier, I feel like if they did like try and do the Death of Superman story a few movies down the line, which I would be like, I know we've seen it like 3 different times in 3 different Superman media at this point. I still want to see Doomsday done like really right. Like starting with like let's have the 3rd Superman movie end with the punching. Which if anyone knows the history of Doomsday, he was introduced at the end of a Superman, like Superman, the triangle era of Superman there was 4 titles. There was Action Comics, there was The Adventures of Superman, there was Superman, and then there was Man of Steel, Superman the Man of Steel. And they would rotate. And 1 month at the end of every issue, there was 1 page of just a fist punching a metal door. And every issue, like the garments on the fist would get further and further back, and it revealed Doomsday's fist. And at the end, he punches his way out of the door, and thus the Death of Superman story begins after that. I would love, like, the 3rd fucking movie to end, like, the post-credits, let's have that fucking punching and blast out, you know what I mean? Like, but I also bring it up because they've set up the Lois and Clark stuff so well that the one most impactful moment in the Death of Superman storyline is when Clark says goodbye to Lois, essentially, where, you know, he tells her, you know, no matter what happens, always remember that I'll love you. And they have one passionate kiss before he flies off and fucking dies. Like, I feel like that's been set up. Like, I care more about Lois and Clark from this movie alone to be able to pull off that moment down the line that it makes me very excited for it. And yeah, I think doing World's Finest too soon is going to undercut. Like, let's do the new Batman and develop his story. You know, if we have a solo Batman and a real solo Superman, then we'll see why it's so cool that we team them up, right, you know, down the line, as opposed to just forcing it together. So that's my thoughts on it.
Well, and then maybe we could get some actual end credit scenes that are exciting and not the biggest waste of fucking time ever, like they were in this movie.
Yeah.
You do not need to stay for either post credit. I'll just say that.
Agreed.
Terrible.
Yeah. Okay, Davey, your thoughts.
Yeah, I held in my pee for nothing to watch those post-credit scenes. I was like, I have to see him. What if we talk about him during the stream? You only have 1,500 subs. Don't fuck this up, Davey. Don't fuck it up.
But Solo Superman versus World's Finest.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see something Solo. And I want something that focuses. I'm right there with Adam and Chris as far like X2, Days of Future Past, Spider-Man 2. Those are some of my favorite comic book movies of all time. So I want something that's more focused on Superman and a bigger threat. Now that we Lex has like tried this sort of scheme that he has, it would be cool to see something that's maybe a little more physically threatening overall instead of the intellectual meets the physical. And I mean, you can have somebody put in the chat like Empire Strikes Back is a good sequel. And I think you could have an ending that maybe isn't the happiest ending, and maybe you tease Batman like coming in to help out in a film that follows up from that. So, I think that could be the way to do it. I'd like to see something that, maybe leans in now that we have this built as a foundation, maybe does lean into something a little bit more serious, but still has the bright colors, still has the humor, still has, a good romance between Clark and Lois, but raises the stakes. If you're not going to raise the stakes, then what's the point of doing it? So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Cool. Lee, did we hit you on this, or I think you're last?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing, as much as I did love this movie, the one thing that I didn't get was like the chill bump moments, and I think Superman's that one character for me that really like has the potential to give me chill bumps. Like the scene in Man of Steel when he flies for the first time. I can't deal with every time he did that scene with the music, Hans Zimmer's music. I was looking for something like that in this movie, and it just never happened. Really, I think when he, no spoilers, but the punch through the glass scene, I think that was probably the closest I got to that. So I guess in the next movie, I'd like them to maybe give us some more of those moments. Superman becoming more of a leader. I don't mind them having other characters. I don't think you need. I definitely don't want Batman, but like the characters that you had in this movie with Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific. I like the way Superman interacts with those characters. So if you want to bring them back in the second movie, just because we love them so much in this movie, I think that's a no-brainer, honestly. And just see Superman become more of a leader. I think that's the progression. I think that's what you want to do in a sequel, and then present a villain that is one very intelligent, but also a godlike. I think you have so many different things you can play with for a really great sequel. I just think don't fuck it up, right? That's the biggest thing. If you screw this up, because I think this movie's going to be a hit. Everybody loves Superman, but we all know that for some reason Superman does have like a tough time at the box office. He does okay, but he's not like I guess like Avengers and Spider-Man, those early Spider-Man movies. So I think we want Superman to box office wise level up, and I think this is our first crack at that, and it'll get people really, really excited for the sequel. Because I think back to the first movie I ever saw in the movie theater was Superman 2 when he fought Zod. General Zod, would you care to step outside? And I remember as an 8-year-old child, the audience was just freaking going nuts when he's fighting Zod in the air and just cooking fools, coming back, the newspaper flying, all that stuff, man. It just Superman, when he can be really great if you do it right. So I want that again. So
well, Christopher Reeve was just effortlessly kind of stoic looking. He just had a presence about him where Corin Sweat can definitely have it, but they never really. There was one scene in this movie, where I was like, oh my God, this is fucking it. Give me like 5 more of these shots. And it's where the debris was kind of settling from a building falling, and it's in the trailer, and you see Superman kind of like come out silhouette. It's like beautifully framed. I'm like, hold this shot, James Gunn. Hold this shot. And
hold it.
He holds it for a little bit, but he's so quick to dismiss and move on. And I just wish that's one thing, Snyder like jerked off to those shots, right? They were everywhere in his movies. Like, he was like, "Gotta get another one. He's a god. He's a god." But giving us a little bit of that in this film would have been so needed, and that was another thing that's just missing.
100% agree. Yeah, I feel like the sequel could do from a bit more like Gunn really overcorrected.
Yes.
Like, he went the completely opposite way. Like, which is fine, but I do agree. I feel like a soupçon of regality, that Superman comes with naturally, right? Because he's just but to show, like, Gunn will be able to show that regality doesn't pull him away from humanity. Like, he is with the humans in spite of that regality. Whereas Snyder, like, keeps him hovered above everyone else, for the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, I look down on you ants.
Exactly. But I do agree. We need a little bit more of those fucking big badass Superman moments, like, I do agree with that. But, that it also gives the character an arc over multiple movies, which isn't necessarily recommended. You don't want to plan to, like, leave things for the sequel, right? You want to give all the good ideas in the first movie to make sure there will be a sequel, but it feels like this was thinking long term as far as giving the character a place to go.
Although, Cecil, ironically, to your point, James Gunn kind of did do that by taking a ton of different comic ideas and just, like, speed running through them in this movie. Like, wait, we're doing this now? Now we're doing this? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Can we get a baby in there?
yeah, exactly. But it was a little bit of that Jonathan and Martha, the Jonathan moment on the porch, that was like for all seasons. Like, you can almost point out exactly where he got each moment from each comic story for anyone that's familiar with the stories. But yeah, I think it was all a great setup. I think it's about time we can probably start to wrap this up. We've been going about an hour and a half, but I do want to ask one more question to you guys. I'm trying to see which question I want to make it. Who did it better? Who did it better? Gunn or Snyder? First Superman movie out the gate. Who did it better? Davey?
Snyder.
Ooh. Chris?
Oh, fuck. It's hard because it's chalk and cheese for me with the tone. Oh,
Yeah.
I
love these colloquialisms. I love these colloquialisms that I don't understand because I do understand them once you say them.
Oh, man. It's because one is so focused just with the central character and the other isn't. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Oh, fuck.
I'm loving the chat right now, by the way. Chat, you fucking rule. All of you.
The one that's called Superman is the one that's not focused on Superman. Ironically.
Yeah, I know.
It's interesting.
For focus sake, Snyder. Everything else, Gunn.
I hate to agree, but I like, as the Superman fan and as the fucking Snyder hater, and as the person that says I can only accept Man of Steel as an Elseworld story, it was a more focused and more direct Superman story. So to that end, I unfortunately probably need to give it to Snyder as to who did it better for their first Superman movie.
Flipping it out.
I like Gunn's version of Superman better.
Chat, fucking relax.
But as the movie, I do think that Snyder got the first Superman movie more right.
Oh, man.
Because it was more intimate, sort of.
Yeah.
It did what you want. It was the Iron Man of the, it, like, focused on the character and the character's origin. Like, it didn't have to do all of the sparklies, in addition. So as much as I'm loath to say it, Yeah. Okay. Who is Lee? I have
go
a feeling
next.
I know what you're going to say.
I'm chomping at the bit here. As far as like we were talking about how to properly do an origin story when it's been done, like Superman 78. Oh my God, you got to wait a while till you get to Superman. So I think Man of Steel did it perfectly. They start you off with, I love the opening of that movie on Krypton. And setting up Zod and everything. And you get to see the baby Superman go there. But then they kind of bounce around a little bit,
Penis rocket ships. The penis rocket ships.
Oh, yeah, dude. You
Perfect.
cannot.
Yes.
Every time you see that, you're like, what the fuck were they thinking?
Is anybody else half-mast right now?
Yeah. Is that an alpha from 28 years later?
They can't stand behind him and say, that's a dick. Yeah, right there. Just so you know. It's like 5, 6 of them right there. Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I know. Yes, I know.
I
Giant
know.
dog.
We planned this. Just shut up. Okay. Go get me a freaking bagel. All right. But yeah. Man. It's the movie that I feel like 5 years down the road, I'm like, okay, I'm in the mood to watch Man of Steel. It always happens with me. When I'm in the mood to watch Superman, if I need the feels, I got the Hans Zimmer on my side.
Hans Zimmer.
That score by Hans Zimmer just freaking levels me every time.
That's like a top 5 score of all time. Top 10 maybe, but
guys, I literally cry every time I watch Man of Steel. When he does the first flight thing and the Hans Zimmer thing, I'm crying like a bitch. I can't help it. It just gets me every time. So I didn't get any cry moments in this movie, but it's not up to just the cry moments. I think Man of Steel is the better Superman movie, but I still love this movie. I do. And I had a tough time. Like, do I maybe like this as much as Man of Steel? And then I watched Man of Steel yesterday. I'm like, no, I don't. But So Man
Adam.
Yeah. I really like Man of Steel. It's the only Snyder verse movie I do like, and I like it a lot. Even it's got the highest highs and the lowest lows, though.
Yeah.
The Pa Kent thing is so stupid.
It's
the
the worst.
But it like Lee said, I felt things watching the movie. It felt like a cinematic film. Like I was seeing Superman in this kind of new light that was interesting and different. It's going off of the Dark Knight's trilogy, which is so good. So Snyder feels reined in here a little bit and trying to make like an adult movie and not some stupid dumbass stuff he does later. James Gunn his movie's a mess. I'm sorry. This felt less like a James Gunn directed movie and more like James Gunn as a boss trying to make a corporate thing that he thinks will sell to a lot of kids. So every ad had crypto all over the place. The movie's really colorful. There's tons of shit going on, including a giant kaiju. It was messy. I didn't feel things. I thought for sure, at least at the end, Gunn's going to bring it home. I'm going to get a moment that's going to give me those goosebumps and go, holy crap, here he is. There's Superman. He's taking everyone out. It didn't happen. It really didn't. And Man of Steel, as much as people give it shit for him killing like a ton of people and like blowing up an IHOP and all that stuff is ridiculous. We can justify it, at least in our brains, and say, yeah, he's learning. He's not Superman. He's the Man of Steel. He's fighting Kryptonians. He doesn't know what he's doing. And so I give it a pass. And I freaking love that he fucking wrecked Zod and snapped his neck. I love that crap.
Yeah.
He had no other choice. I don't care what justification people want to give. I'm there. I'm all for
that
it.
final fight at the end, man, of Man of Steel, him versus Zod. Holy shit, dude. That's amazing stuff.
Yeah, again, anyone that doesn't like him killing Zod isn't aware of the comics. Zod is literally the only person Superman has ever killed in the comics. They've rebooted continuity a number of times, and Zod is no longer dead, but in continuity, Zod and his cohorts are the only people that Superman ever canonically killed.
Well, Cecil, I don't read the comics. I don't care about any of that. It just, for the story, it made sense. Like, I didn't look at Superman as a mass murderer when the movie was done. He was clearly in agony overdoing it. He had no other choice. That's just one thing. That's the least egregious thing to me. The Pa Kent thing is there's two more egregious things. The Pa Kent thing, absolutely, because Pa Kent and Ma Kent, literally their biggest thing is life above all. Mm-hmm. And like, it doesn't matter if my secret's going to get out, I'm going to save your life. That's what you taught me, Pop. And then the other thing is, I will never, ever, ever be able to forgive or let go. And every time I bring this up, there are people that are like, I never thought of that, but you're fucking right. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Escape podcast, Two Young Dudes. It's a massive podcast, especially on TikTok. Hat Guy and Dude in Spider-Man suit. Yep.
I commented on one of their TikToks recently where he was complaining about Man of Steel and giving his things. I was like, why does no one ever bring this up? And it's the fact that Superman and Lois's first kiss is on the ruins of Metropolis, likely on top of the pulped bodies of thousands of dead Metropolitans. That's where they have their first romantic kiss. Nuh-uh. Superman ain't doing that shit. Like,
So
that's...
Are you kink shaming now?
Yeah, I'll take the rap for that. Yeah, so and every time, and even so, Hat Guy actually commented like, "That's such a great point, LMAO." Like, it's like I know so many people are like, "Oh my!" Like, I literally had a few comments responding to that saying, "I'd never thought about that." It's fucking terrible. Like, that is not anything that would happen. So, but bottom line for me, Gunn got Superman more right. He got all the characters more right. He got the DC universe more right. But Snyder made a better Superman movie.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird to say, but that's the bottom line. And
there's some great themes in Snyder's movies too. If you were like, I just finished freaking Batman v Superman, and one idea that Superman constantly, because the world hates him. They set him up for this explosion in the freaking Capitol or whatever courthouse, and after that he's just like, these are my people, talking about the people of Krypton. But then by the end of the movie, he after everything that has transpired, he says, these are my people, and he's talking about the people of Earth. And so there's kind of an arc there for him, because he literally states at one time, I don't want to be Superman anymore. Nobody wants me. I feel like I'm just kind of an outcast, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. And so he freaking goes up into the freaking snowy mountains, till he sees Paul Kent, and Paul Kent kind of brings him back to reality, and he thinks, okay, maybe this is bigger than me, and maybe my test of being a man is to actually rise above my own bullshit and do the right thing, and by doing that, then the people of Metropolis will come back around to me, and they'll understand where I'm coming from, But I gotta give myself that chance. And so the themes of Snyder's movies are there, but I think the movies do have problems, especially Batman v Superman. But I still love them immensely, just because of the themes and the chill bumps. I get chill bumps right now just talking about it. I love Superman because of, people said the movies don't have hope, but my God, I feel so much hope when I watch those movies. That scene in Man of Steel when he's flying up the world engine, and the world is just beating him down, and everybody's dying. And then that moment where he just comes up to beat down, we didn't have that in this movie. There was no moment like that where Superman rises above and becomes that's the moment where he literally becomes a man. He just goes
he's
up
Russell Case from Independence Day.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, man, I go on a tangent when I start talking about those movies. I love them. They're some of my favorites. Give him another chance, guys.
Well, and what's funny is
he's done. He's done.
Remember at the beginning, at the beginning of the stream, the guy in the chat that was like, "These guys are all paid," and then it's basically a clean sweep on Snyder's making the better movie.
That's good
point. Just like with James Gunn's Superman, maybe you should wait until you see the whole thing before you open your fucking mouth, y'all. And to Lee's point there about rising above your own bullshit and realizing that you've got to be a man. Cecil just did that by choosing Snyder over Gunn right now.
It hurts. It hurts my soul. But that's the thing.
We get a laundry sack with a $sign. Oh, good. My laundry is done.
You guys don't see that Zach is actually standing right there with a gun. Yeah. So, what am I going to do?
Is he going to shoot you in slow motion and you're going to watch the casings fall? Because he kind of likes doing that.
Yeah. My brain matter is going to slowly splatter over here.
As Cecil yells, Martha.
By the way, Rebel Moon is the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen in my entire life. So there you go.
Who's that? What?
Rebel Moon. Those movies are the biggest piles of crap I've ever seen. So
I watched the director's cut of the first one. I haven't even watched any of the second ones yet. I waited. I didn't want to suffer through it until the director's cut came out because I knew I'd have to suffer twice.
Did you review those?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, you take one for the team. I've seen it, man. It's just that's tough.
They're almost unwatchable.
Adam is the cookie at a college guy's party. He takes everything on, all movies. Yeah, exactly. Lee's got it. All right, guys. I think that's a good enough place to leave it for our non-spoiler discussion here. I'm assuming that a lot of you guys have spoilers that you're going to whip out at some point in the next few days. So everyone that is watching, if you haven't, and if you are so inclined, the link to everyone's channel is in the description box down below. Please go and subscribe to each of these gentlemen. They are all really entertaining and well thought out, well spoken individuals. Adam's a little bit of a shit sometimes, but outside of that, everyone's good here. So please, by all means, subscribe to them all. And to that end, what does everyone have coming up, and why should everyone come and tune in to your channels, Adam?
Well, I just put out today a Jurassic World Afterbirth video on how stupid that movie is, and I broke down a scene that features a T-Rex, skulking in the background with some people on a raft, and I juxtaposed that with the first movie, and how much better Spielberg is able to frame up a scene, and how much more well-crafted the story is and the characters, and it's just a fun video, kind of just showing the two different approaches that Hollywood movies seem to have been taking these days. In the future, I'll have a Superman recap video where I'll go through the movie and remember it as best as I can, and I'll get things wrong, and that'll be fun too. And after that, I don't know what's coming out on. There's some bad movies on streaming that I'll probably try to watch. I think one of them is with, oh God, is it John Cena and Idris Elba, Heads of State or something, I think. That looks terrible, so I'll probably watch that and review it as well. And whatever comes out next week, I don't know, because I live my life a day at a time. Fantastic Four around the corner. Is that coming out?
Fantastic Four!
Oh, I do like that. I like that song. I think that's great.
Couldn't help myself. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
You didn't know I was an alto, did you?
I know.
So yeah, please subscribe to Adam. Lord knows he could use it. Chris, what do you got coming up?
So before we jumped on here, I did a quick unboxing. I've got myself an original script of Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. The second
fuck
draft,
you say?
of shit films. So I've still got to film me going through the script to see what changes from this to the final film. Next week, we've got the cast of Fantastic Four coming to Sydney, and I'm going to see the first half an hour of the film with the cast, which is cool. Then Wednesday is the premiere of I Know What You Did Last Summer. I got to see a screener yesterday of Together, which I put a review up for, and I also saw the screener last night for Happy Gilmore 2 because something big's happening this weekend. That's all I can say about that.
Wait, you saw the screener? As in you saw the movie?
Yes.
You
How bad is it?
Wow.
Yeah.
He probably can't say whether it's good
I
or bad
can't
or
say
anything.
shit, but yeah,
Blink twice if I'm in trouble of watching this.
It's okay. I'll shut the camera off and he can spill.
Wait, what did you say? So that's what's happening next couple of days. Try and do a spoiler video for Superman, possibly, maybe. But next week's going to be fun with Fantastic Four. I'm actually kind of really looking forward to I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't know why.
Yeah,
but
me
it's
too.
kind of bad.
We got a screening for that on Tuesday that I was just made aware of. So
Hell yeah.
Gonna check that out then. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Lee, what you got?
Chris, when does Together come out? Because I just noticed you reviewed that one.
Dude, I think it's like the 25th or like the 30th
it's like later
or
this
something
month,
of
right?
July. So
I'm really
it's
looking
still
forward to that one.
ways off. So I'm interviewing the director on Monday, and that's why I had to see the screener. But there's no review embargo.
Oh, okay. That's a good
But
sign.
yeah, I really liked it. It was really good. I totally forgot about the whole. I only saw it because Mike over at We Watched the Movie cover it. The whole lawsuit plagiarism
Yeah.
bullshit
Oh yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Didn't
Supposedly,
know that.
yeah. So anyone that's not familiar, supposedly Dave Franco and what's her nuts, they caught a script was submitted to their production company with a very similar story. They claim that they never read said script, and yet somehow this movie has come out with a lot of the same or similar plot points or whatnot. I don't know how everything shook out. Do we even know how everything shook out yet, Chris?
I think it was in favor of Franco and Bray because they submitted the script before the other film, supposedly. Like it was,
Okay. So yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, continue, Lee, please.
I'm gonna try to do a spoiler review and probably try to rank all the movies with Superman in them, starting with 78. So I'll probably do something like that. I just recorded a review for Open Water, the shark movie, just because I like doing shark movies in July. And Open Water, I think people don't talk about. That's a good movie.
Pretty good
I
flick,
think it's
yeah.
a good it's a good lesson in. I mean, when you watch that movie, it looks like like you could film that in your backyard with the cheapest cameras possible. But for some reason, the movie works, and I think there's a good lesson in that movie. So I like talking about movies like that. So it's kind of like the Blair Witch of shark movies. So yeah, that one.
Except terrible.
What's that?
Nothing.
Yeah,
Cheeky
but
fucker.
no, I love it actually. So yeah, I think I'll stop it there. I think that's about it for now. And whatever else is coming up, slasher movie, who knows?
There's a problem with your franchise when the third installment is the best one. But all right, Davey, did we hit you yet?
No.
What you got?
So I'm going to be at Mad Monster Party this weekend with Cecil and the horror show people. We're going to be working that table and walking around. So I'll probably go live just like a few random times.
Hawking these bad boys that are finally ready to go.
There you go.
Man.
There's talk that I may be appearing on another Awesome Channel's live show tomorrow. So hopefully that happens. I'm not going to say anything, just in case. And then on Sunday, I'm going to do, ask the people on my channel if they wanted this. I'm going to do like a spoiler live with them about this Superman film, because a lot of people were really looking forward to seeing it. But then as far as other stuff goes, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m., I have a show called Late Night with the Davey. Sometimes I bring on a guest and chat with them, another like content creator or writer, director, or somebody in the creative field, and we have a topical discussion. Or like yesterday, I watched Day of the Dead, George Romero's Day of the Dead, which is my favorite zombie film and is celebrating 40 years. I think it's an absolute masterpiece, and I have a lot of fun. I guess, guys, if you've never checked out my channel, relatively small here, especially compared to these high rollers in here. But I have a lot of fun with the community. So if you like kicking it in a live stream and you love having, the person that's chatting with or hanging out with you, engaging a lot, that's kind of my thing over there. So come on over and check out a live sometime.
And the most soothing voice on YouTube.
Oh my god, radio voice.
Yeah.
I love it.
You absolutely have a face and voice for radio.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm starting an OnlyFans, but it's just going to be my voice, and Chris will be my first customer.
I will sign up to that, man. I'm like Randy from South Park, where he's like, "Oh,"
just in a room
Spooky
filled with it.
the ectoplasm. Oh, it was a ghost.
Right on, guys. Well, and here, obviously on the horror show, you can see us reviewing all the newest horror movies that come out, and occasionally movies like Superman, non-horror stuff. The things that we've got coming up are interesting and not usual. So first off, I will say that I just completed a new script, which is a spec script that a buddy of mine wrote for a cult favorite franchise that we are angling to actually pitch to the originators of the franchise. That hopefully will be happening within the next month, if so. But if it doesn't happen, then we're going to be making the script into a 4-issue comic book series. So one way or another, this story's coming out, and it's going to be really cool. In addition to that, there's a lot going on, but one of the biggest things is something that I'm very, very excited about. It's an event that we haven't nailed down a time or date yet, but I was just confirmed that it's likely going to happen in January, where I am going to be hosting an event that appears like I don't have any final details, but I was just informed today, and there's one other person that needs to be confirmed on August 2nd, but it looks like I'm going to be hosting the largest fan film event that's ever been held live at Kevin Smith's theater in New Jersey in January.
That's
Nice.
amazing, man.
So yeah, very excited about that. I've already put together a poster and a trailer for it. It's an event that I met and spoke with Kevin Smith about 3 weeks ago here at Phoenix Comic Con. I pitched him the idea because of Dylan's New Nightmare. And he was like, that's a great idea. We've never done that. We could definitely do a fan film night, but you got to curate it. And I said, all right, cool, I can do that. So I have basically, I'm making it, it's a 11-hour showcase of the best fan films that have ever reached the internet, and it's going to be almost 40 different franchises featured in almost 40 different fan films. And they're all really fucking cool. And I do have a sample trailer, but I can't show anything yet until we've confirmed what's actually going to happen, or which films we're going to use and everything. But it's a very exciting thing, and the whole crew, the whole horror show crew, is going to head out to Jersey to take part, including Davey. So
Fucking it up, yo! I can't wait. I'm so pumped.
The cool thing is, like, I went big, you guys. Like, this is literally the 30-something biggest fan films out there, and they're literally the biggest ones, including Dirty Laundry, the Punisher fan film, the Venom fan film that was made by Joe Lynch, the Power Rangers fan film, and like a number of really massive ones. And I have actually gotten permission from the filmmakers to make it, or to showcase them, including some directors that have become really quite big, like Joe Lynch himself. Who has done, if anyone's not familiar, he did Suitable Flesh, he did Mayhem, he's done a lot of different things, and now I'm in contact with him, and he's interested in perhaps coming out for the event if all lines up schedule-wise. So it's a very exciting thing, and this is the first time I've been able to kind of talk about it with any sort of certainty, so I will let everyone know as more comes out. But yeah, everyone's got some cool things going on, so make sure you subscribe to all those channels in the description box down below if you haven't yet. Thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate everyone, especially if you've watched all the way up to this point. Thank you to all of our fantastic guests, Chris, Lee, and Adam. Davey's part of the channel, so fuck you. You're not a guest. But thank you guys.
Can I answer Mason's question real quick?
Yeah, by all means. I was going to give everyone the floor one more time here. So Lee, please, by all means.
Yeah, Mason, what happened to the Crow movie? The Crow fan film is actually coming out in October. It's coming out, I think, October 30th or 31st. 2 years in the making. A lot of work going into this. All the credit to Cody Falk and his team for putting this movie together. But you guys are going to dig it. It's going to be really cool. Also, my wife's book, Delilah versus the Gaster Grim, she'd kill me if I didn't mention it. So.
Fuck yeah, dude. I've been watching that. That's awesome shit. Good for her, dude.
Yeah, man. It's inspired by our granddaughter who has a rare condition called Dravet syndrome. So it's a hero with a disability. It's in the vein of like Harry Potter and whatnot. So yeah, Delilah versus the Gaster Grim. Thanks, Cecil.
Yeah, no,
Amazing.
I gotta talk to you about that sometime. It's really cool. And
it's a lot of work.
Similar. So yes, please. Anyone else who wants the floor one more time here? Chris?
Oh man, I'm all good. I'm just thank you for the chat. It's always a pleasure with you fine fellas, and can't wait to do it again.
I am personally very excited about something that is perhaps going to take a little bit of time, but something is brewing in the background with Chris that I am quite excited about. So
I don't know what you're talking about. Man.
Yeah, no, I certainly nothing apropos.
You don't know about
anything
it yet,
we're
Chris.
talking about. So Adam, how about you? Any final words?
No, I'm just
cool. All right, thanks, Davey.
I'm hosting the second largest fan film. I think it's on the same
fuck
night
off.
as yours.
Cunt.
No, I got nothing. I have nothing.
Tony's gonna join him.
Tony.
You can't say things like that. All right. Super chat from Frank. Just in the last thing here. Hey guys, I'm a producer of Star Trek Renegades. Let me know if you'd like to use it. The films for this first one have already been decided. There is a Star Trek film in there. But we're hoping that this is going to do well enough to justify further installments and perhaps franchise-specific installments. I am just very excited to showcase what this event can be, and I'm going to be recording it. And the goal is to perhaps, once everything's recorded and edited together, I would like to approach maybe Alamo Drafthouse about doing a nationwide event showcasing the fan films as well. So there's a lot of legality stuff that we have to get through considering fan films and all that. But yeah, it's very exciting. And yes, stay in contact, Frank, because Star Trek Renegades could perhaps be featured in a future installment of this event. So. Thank you guys very much. Davey, please.
I got one more thing. So today is the second anniversary of my channel, and the reason why I know that is because it's the day that Dylan's New Nightmare had its pre-screening at Mad Monster 2 years ago, and it was that day that I became an associate producer on It's Me Billy Chapter 2. I got to meet Dave McCrae, who is like my YouTube hero getting into this whole thing, and got to see Cecil's film, and then got to know Cecil because I was like, dude, I want to interview you. So just a shout out to Dylan's New Nightmare. And thank you guys so much thank you, Cecil, and for thinking of me, and you guys for sharing the stage here. I do think this is a very, very good looking panel. I will say that. So it's been a pleasure, guys.
Beautiful.
Congrats, man. That's amazing.
Congrats. Yay.
Strength.
Oh my God, Balloon.
Adam,
You're
did
so
that balloon
festive,
come out of your
Adam.
ass?
What the fuck was that?
And everyone in the chat's super hot too. Even the people that hated on us.
Adam,
Indeed,
Mark
indeed.
Balloon.
Yeah, anyone that took place in the chat, thank you very much. I'm sorry that I didn't, pay as much attention to the chat, but 5 people on a panel, it's, you got to pay attention to what's going on camera here, so I don't be like, oh, what'd you say? So yeah, thank you guys very much for joining. Again, make sure you subscribe to all of these awesome dudes. They're all entertaining in their own right. Some funnier than others, but but nonetheless, obviously that's a joke, and I am not one of the funny ones. So, thank you guys very much for watching. I have been Cecil Laird.
I've been Davey Deathray.
There we are. And until next time, guys, remember, stay scared.
Stay scared.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Much love.